I wonder if they're even going to be able to fulfill pre-orders out in the wild. So whatever.
It's hopefully going to be a big print run. Not our problem. Yeah. Right? BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple. We're talking deck building plus games. And the next one I want to talk about is one I haven't got to play yet. So I'm curious to see what you think in comparison to, maybe another game like Lost Ruins of Arnak. Tell us about Dune Imperium from Direwolf Games.
So Dune Imperium is set in the Dune. It's actually based off the movie that's coming out, but also the first book, I believe.
Hey, Julie. What's up, Julie? Checking in.
Hey,
my friend Julie.
Sweet friend of mine. Beautiful human being. So anyway, this Dune game is a worker placement deck building game. The whole idea is that you are doing a combination of things. You have your worker placement where you have factions on the left side of the board. They're going to all be different. They're going to have 2 spots apiece, and they're also going to have a track that as you place workers there, you're going to get more allegiance to them and score points, and then possibly score points plus benefits. But you're going to place these cards, place your workers in these spots. And once again, this is another game with very few workers to place. You're going to have a max of 3. But yeah, you're peeling to these different, councils or whatnot. And when you do that, they're going to help you with your decks. Okay, so you have multi-use cards in this game as well. So you're going to be playing a card. It's going to go to a specific site, but it's also going to trigger an ability. But the card also has an ability that when you're done playing cards, it's going to give you some other benefits at the bottom. So you have this thing of whether you want to place all your workers or not. As you get better in the game, you may have to make the choice not to play all your cards for the benefit of being able to buy cards and also contribute to conflict. So there's a little bit at play there, but I don't want to get too in the weeds on that yet. But when you're placing out in these spots, it does have a thematic touch because there's just different factions. One's based on war, one's based on keeping water together, one's based on like sneaky stuff, so they make people get rid of their cards in their deck.
So thematic from the different houses from the books,
right?
You get some flavor from that.
Yeah. The characters also have their own abilities, so they seem like very thematic. Like some of them are better appealing to the council, some are better, just like trading things. Some of them are better with conflict. Some of them are better when they're out and about in the sand or whatnot. So they have all these little small things that work together, and there's a real kind of feedback loop of, okay, so I get the Solaris money. I get spice. I go out on the earth and get spice. I trade it in for money, and then I turn that money into whatever I want for influence to get more troops and stuff. So there's another element. You buy these cards, and then you buy cards from different factions, and they trigger just like they would in a deck builder. So if you play like this type of card, the allegiance card, then you get to get bonuses to the other cards of the same faction. So that's a very deck builder-y thing. And then you also have, after that, you have conflict. So during this game, you're placing these workers in certain spots, and they are adding these troops to your garrison and eventually your conflict. So you see where the X is in the middle? Right there. And you see where that big X is in the middle with all those?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, those bits. That's where all they're going to go. You're going to be placing on spots. They allow you to grab recruit troops, and then eventually you'll push them into this middle spot where the conflict happens. And those red cards to the left of that are the conflict that's going to happen every round during the 10 rounds. And then whoever wins that, you're going to total up your battle points based on how many people are in there, plus cards that are revealed with the conflict on there. And then you're going to score points. And yeah, it's a really, really interesting play there because conflict is part of the game. So if you don't like that at all, this is not going to be your game. If you're really into worker placement, this is going to be more of a worker placement game. But like I said, there's conflict every round, and it does factor into how you're going to win this game. It is very rare. I don't even know if it's possible to dodge conflict because your cards aren't worth points. You need to move up these factions, these faction lists to get more points. They actually have some really good cards in there. They're called intrigue cards. You get it from the Spy faction. And they have ones that are for like in-game, end game, and like just whenever you want, like during conflicts. So they're kind of surprise cards that people don't know what you have, and you can get points at the end of the game and have more points than everybody. you could, like you could have these cards and then like win a big conflict and not really be invested in it in the beginning.
But a deck builder that has no points from the actual cards, you got to use the cards to get the points.
So they're just multi-use cards. That's the thing. You got to use them to get the points. There's no points on cards. Well, there are a few cards that you purchase and they give you a point, but they're very, very expensive. So this game is not like you're not playing around with a ton of money here. You're not going to stack. You're not going to even buy a lot of cards either. Which is kind of a thing about this game. There's a lot of cards that are very enticing, but you don't always build a deck up so much because it does take a while to get it going. So the game can feel like it's not moving as fast, and there's no way that you trash the whole deck. So that trash the whole display room. So you can't do that. That unfortunately. So it just kind of makes it slower sometimes than it should be.
What's going on with these minis? What is this part for?
That's for the deluxe edition, which hasn't shipped yet. That's coming in March, I think, something like that. I can't remember what the publisher told me, but there's something like that. They were
cubes.
Yeah,
instead of cubes, you use the factions.
Cubes and these weird looking dudes. I mean, it's like this. It's not gorgeous. It is not gorgeous. It's not going to win any awards for that. It's also going to play into your "we don't need minis," play. How bad do you not want minis? Well, you got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I can play with cubes.
Well, I'm just saying, you got these boring looking workers. Fine, that's what you get. So
it's the same designer as Clank, right?
That is the same designer as Clank, which I did not know until like I was playing and somebody said, yeah, this is that same person. But it makes sense. It's Dire Wolf as well. So yeah, it makes total sense. This game I do recommend, but I want to be with caveats here. Big one is if you're a solo or 2-player, you need to know that there is a dummy player by deck. There's a deck of cards. You can use an app as well that will simulate the deck, or you can just play with a deck of cards. You're going to be unveiling them. They're going to be taking advantage of a lot of the spots that you need to be in, but it is definitely winnable. It's just that you need to know that solo and 2-player do have that card system. If you're not interested in that, but if you want it more streamlined and faster, you can use the app. It's very, very, very quick. How quick those turns go, making it a lot easier for you. This game shines at 3 and 4 because it's just bloodfest in a sense. I just like that. It puts the pressure on people, makes them really interact. So it's a really interesting game.
So unlike Arnak, which had very little player interaction other than getting to spots just before other people, right? Yeah, other than racing, which always has player interaction, but that's about it. This one sounds like you better be ready for player interaction if you're going to do it.
Yeah. You are literally placing on spots that will allow you to take your garrison and put them in the combat ring. So everybody sees this pressure mounting up and they go, holy crap, I'm going to have to be prepared for this conflict. Yeah. So some people are like, you know what? I'm not going to play my cards. I'm going to go ahead and buy some stuff and get my garrison going because some of the cards actually have like add to conflict at the bottom. So it's like, I need to make sure I have this, Or you just, that round, nobody wants to be part of the battle, and one person clearly is going to win. It might not be worth points, but it might be worth spice. It might be worth, water, which is the most restricted resource in the game. Those fight for resources and spots is just important.
Do you need to know the books to know to enjoy the game?
I have zero knowledge of it. So
really, oh wow, it's a great book.
I have zero knowledge, so that's really important. Somebody said, well, how can you play the game? Like the theme. I played Quest for El Dorado. What do I really care? Like, I don't like the Dwellings of Eldervale. That has nothing to do with anything. I'm deciding to be in that world. There you go.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm sure by the end of the game you figured out that these are factions that don't really get along and trying to control the spice on Dune. I mean, that's basically the book, right?
It's science fiction. Like, how hard is this to figure out? It's like, come on.